Hi, kids. Okay, greatest films of all time. Number 4, Vertigo, 1958. We've got back-to-back films directed by Alfred Hitchcock on this list. That means uh, Hitchcock has 5 films he directed on this list, which is the most any director on this list. That'll stand. 5 is the most. Uh, Starring Jimmy Stewart, appeared multiple times on this list as well, and Kim Novak initially was to star Vera Miles. She was under personal contract to Hitchcock. She was on contract to Hitchcock. He had her on a leash, um, which maybe says something about Hitchcock's relationship with his leading ladies, those blondes. Uh, Grace Kelly had to, go be a princess to get away from Hitchcock, and Vera Miles just had to have a baby. I'm not saying that's why she had her baby, but maybe that's why she had her baby. So Vera Miles couldn't be in the film. She was with child. Kim Novak is cast instead, and maybe much like the film is trying to be fit into the mold of Vera Miles. Vera Miles would eventually be able for production after giving birth to her child, but at this point, Hitchcock was spurred and said, "No, I'll keep my Novak." So, Vertigo is based on a novel. Um, Depending on your translation, it's a French novel. Two translations for the title. One is The Living and the Dead, and then the other is From Among the Dead. Um, Written by 2 French authors, Pierre Beaulieu and Pierre Hérol, or credited as Beaulieu and Nerjac. I'm not good with the French. Anyways, the 2 Pierres wrote this. I believe one of them was in a theater, and they used to show newsreel footage before films. He was watching newsreels, and he thought he recognized a friend of his that he hadn't seen quite some time. Post-war France wasn't uncommon to sort of not have seen people for a while. Got him thinking, what if you had seen someone on the street who you had thought was dead? So novel was based around that, From Among the Dead. They also wrote the novel that Les Diaboliques was based on. Hitchcock had wanted to adapt that, missed out on that, so he was keeping his eye out for any other novel that they might produce that he could turn into a film. That was written in 54. This, of course, was made in 58. So the screenplay is credited to Alex Koppel and Samuel Taylor. But before those two had to look at it or attempt at it, uh, Hitchcock hired Maxwell Anderson. Maxwell Anderson he had just worked on, who wrote The Wrong Man for him. He was a playwright, a lyricist, a poet. So he gave it a crack. Hitchcock was not very happy with what he did at all. So then Alec Koppel had a turn. Alec Koppel also was the writer of To Catch a Thief. So going with people he's worked with before. Still not satisfied with Alec Koppel's version. So in comes Samuel Taylor. He's finally satisfied with Samuel Taylor. Samuel Taylor, another playwright. But because of the Writers Guild deemed that it should be credited to Koppel and Taylor, but not to Anderson. So there you have it. So one of the more famous aspects of this film is the dolly zoom. If you don't know what a dolly zoom is, that's sort of when the lens zooms in while the camera is dollied out. It kind of extends the shot. You could do it the other way too. Hitchcock had attempted to use that in Rebecca, 1940. It's something that stuck with him for a while. So cameraman on this, Erman Roberts, he went to him and said, "Hey, how can we get this dizzying, drunk-like effect?" And Roberts was sort of an expert on lenses, and they perfected it in Vertigo. So that dolly zoom has been used many times. There's ones, famous ones in Jaws, Poltergeist. I mentioned those two films, but are they directed by the same filmmaker? And Goodfellas also has a notable dolly zoom. So Vertigo is released, and it wasn't really seen as a success. Nobody really got it. It was kind of slow, not the pace, not what people were really expecting from Hitchcock at this time. Audiences weren't fans, critics were not fans, and it comes out in a very interesting middle part of 4-year releases for Hitchcock. So um, between 1956 and 1960, Hitchcock's filmography goes The Wrong Man, Vertigo, and then because Vertigo wasn't a success, he tried to do something more big and fun and bombastic, which is where North by Northwest, which is on this list, comes out at following Vertigo, and then he goes from that into Psycho. So 3 of those films on this list, 3 films in a row made it onto this list. So it took a while for Vertigo to kind of gain recognition, to be the type of film that people would cite and end up on this list. It's probably not till people start using the dolly zoom in films like Jaws in '75 and Goodfellas. So around 1982 is when it starts to be in conversation as one of the greatest films of all time. So AFI list 100 greatest American films of all time. It was number 61 in 1998. 2007, when they redid the list, it jumped up to number 9. So quickly ascending. 2012 British Film Institute list, it was number 1 on the critics list and number 7 on the directors list. And then just last year, 2022, it was number 2 on the critics list and number 6 on the directors list. So dropped on the critics, went up on the directors by 1 place each. Metacritic, according to critics' reviews, it is number 8. And despite all that, on IMDb, it is not in the top 100, according to you. It is just outside at 101. So if it was maybe 2 places higher, this might be higher on this list. But right now, it's number 4. Maybe go watch Vertigo, give it a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, and we shall see. Maybe in a year's time, it will be higher on a list like this. Anyways, number 4, Vertigo, highest Hitchcock. Is it your favorite Hitchcock? What's your favorite Hitchcock? Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe.